I 28F am standing in my small apartment kitchen, testing new recipes for my upcoming menu. The aroma of fresh herbs and simmering sauces fills the air, and for the first time in my life, I feel truly in control. Even now, the memories of my family still make my chest tighten, but those days of being controlled are finally over. Let me tell you how I orchestrated the perfect revenge against those who exploited me for years. I started working at the Golden Plate, a well-known local restaurant, right after high school. Despite both my parents working full-time jobs, they took almost every penny of my paycheck under the guise of family contribution. Meanwhile, my twin siblings, Nathan and Madison, both 19, were pampered and never had to lift a finger. The exploitation began when I was just a child. I was 7 when the twins were born, and suddenly, I became more of a third parent than a sister. By age 10, I was cooking simple meals. By 12, I was handling the majority of household chores. When I turned 14, I was managing the entire household schedule, including the twins' activities and appointments. My culinary journey started in our home kitchen. I would experiment with recipes while preparing family meals, teaching myself techniques from cooking shows and borrowed library books. The kitchen became my sanctuary, the one place where I felt some semblance of control. But even this passion was twisted into another form of exploitation. When I started at the Golden Plate, I was just a dishwasher. Marco, the owner, noticed how I would study the line cooks during my breaks, how I would ask questions about techniques and timing. He started letting me help with prep work before my regular shifts. Within 6 months, I had worked my way up to line cook. My parents' response? They increased their demands on my paycheck from 70% to 80%. The moment that changed everything came 3 months ago. It was the twins' latest birthday celebration, another extravagant party that I was expected to clean up after working a double shift. When I came home exhausted, my mother yanked away the leftover food I tried to eat, insisting the cleaning couldn't wait. That night, I confided in my coworker Ashley, 27F, about everything. She didn't just listen, she helped me plan my escape. "You need your own space," she said, "somewhere they can't reach you." She helped me find a small apartment in a secure building across town, far from my parents' suburban paradise. The move was carefully orchestrated. Over several weeks, I secretly moved my essential belongings to Ashley's place, my cookbook collection, my personal documents, and the professional knife set I had been saving up for. I kept working my shifts, kept playing the dutiful daughter, all while preparing for my independence. One Tuesday, when my parents and the twins were at a country club event, Ashley and I executed the final phase of my move. We had a small rental truck and 2 hours to get everything done. My hands were shaking as I packed the last box, but my resolve was firm. My new apartment was small, just a studio with a tiny kitchen, but it was mine. That first night, sitting on my secondhand couch, surrounded by boxes and the smell of takeout dinner, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Ashley brought over a bottle of wine, and we celebrated my first step toward freedom. But moving out was just the beginning. You see, my parents' exploitation went far beyond just taking my money. They'd been living well beyond their means, accumulating massive debt while maintaining a facade of middle-class success. They used my income to make minimum payments while continuing to spoil the twins. What they didn't know was that I had been documenting everything, every dollar they took, every expense they forced me to cover, every financial decision they made. Through Ashley's connection with an accountant friend, I discovered the full extent of their financial mismanagement. They had over $500,000 in hidden debt, maxed out credit cards, and a second mortgage they've been struggling to pay. All while presenting themselves as the perfect suburban family. Marco became an unexpected ally in my plan. While he didn't know the details, he understood I needed to break free. He's been gradually increasing my responsibilities at the restaurant, teaching me not just about cooking, but about business management too. Under his guidance, I've learned about profit margins, inventory management, and staff supervision, skills that will prove invaluable for what's coming next. My rise through the ranks at the Golden Plate has been steady and calculated. I started creating special dishes that quickly became customer favorites. Marco gave me creative control over the daily specials, and our revenue increased by 25% in the first month alone. Every success strengthened my position, while I quietly gathered evidence of my parents' financial manipulation. The twins are about to start college, and my parents are counting on my contribution more than ever. They have no idea that their carefully constructed house of cards is about to collapse. I've been working with Ashley to ensure that when it does, there will be no way to trace it back to me. Every receipt, every bank statement, every piece of evidence has been meticulously organized and documented. My small apartment has become my sanctuary. The herbs growing on my windowsill are truly mine. The professional knife set displayed on my magnetic strip represents my independence. Even my secondhand furniture feels like treasure because I chose it, bought it with my own money, arranged it how I wanted. Tomorrow, my parents are calling a family meeting to discuss the twins' college expenses. They expect me to agree to increase my contribution to cover their tuition. Instead, they're about to discover that their financial facade is crumbling. Every careful step I've taken over the past 3 years has led to this moment. The timing is perfect. Marco recently hinted at a promotion to sous chef, and there are whispers about a potential expansion of the Golden Plate. My position is secure, my skills are valued, and for the first time, I'm building something for myself, not for them. I should feel guilty, I suppose. But watching from my peaceful apartment as my revenge plan unfolds, all I feel is a sense of justice. My siblings might finally have to learn what it means to work for something instead of having it handed to them. My parents will have to face the consequences of their years of manipulation and exploitation. Ashley is coming over later to help me finalize the details of my plan. We'll go over every document, every piece of evidence one last time. The next few weeks will change everything. I've prepared a special dinner for us, a new recipe I've been perfecting. There's something poetic about using the skills they forced me to develop as part of my revenge. I'll update after the family meeting tomorrow. My hands are steady, my mind is clear, and my resolve has never been stronger. Wish me luck, though with how carefully I've planned this, I don't think I'll need it. The countdown to their downfall has begun, and there's no going back now. Update 1, the family meeting just happened, and things went exactly as planned, even better, actually. Let me share what went down. Yesterday evening, I arrived at my parents' house precisely at 7 p.m. for the important family discussion. The first thing I noticed was the new 85-inch TV in the living room, apparently, my father's essential purchase for watching Nathan's gaming tournaments. The irony wasn't lost on me. My parents had set up the dining room like a corporate boardroom, complete with printed spreadsheets and college brochures. Madison was texting throughout the entire meeting, while Nathan was wearing his new $300 gaming headset around his neck. Mom started with her usual manipulation tactics, showing pictures of the twins as babies and talking about family legacy. Then came the numbers. They had calculated that they needed an additional $2,800 per month from me to cover the twins' college expenses. My father pulled out a detailed spreadsheet showing how my contribution would increase gradually over the next 4 years. They had even included a section labeled Catherine's Career Growth Potential, basically assuming my future raises would go straight to them. But here's where it gets interesting. Just as my mother was explaining their grand plan, her phone started buzzing with bank notifications. You see, the first phase of my plan had already been set in motion hours earlier. Ashley's accountant friend had timed everything perfectly. The look on my mother's face as she checked her phone was priceless. The bank was inquiring about unusual payment patterns and potential credit risks. My father's phone started ringing next. Their mortgage company had some urgent questions about recent financial disclosures. I maintained my perfect poker face as chaos erupted. Madison finally looked up from her phone when Mom started pacing the room, frantically trying to reach their financial advisor. Nathan's smug expression disappeared when Dad mentioned possibly having to sell their new gaming room setup. But the real bombshell came from an unexpected source. While my parents were distracted by their phones, the local newspaper's website published an article about financial fraud in suburban families, featuring anonymous tips about certain prominent community members living beyond their means. I know this because Madison, still scrolling through social media, suddenly went pale and showed the article to our parents. The meeting quickly derailed from there. Instead of discussing my increased contribution, my parents started arguing about who had access to their financial records. That's when I played my part perfectly, expressing shock and concern, offering to help by looking over their accounts. They were so panicked they actually gave me access to everything. Meanwhile, at work, things are progressing better than I imagined. Marco called me into his office this morning. The new menu items I've been developing have increased our weekday dinner revenue by 35%. He officially offered me the sous chef position, with a significant raise and creative control over the menu. But here's the sweetest part, Marco is planning to open a second location, and he wants me to be head chef there. "You've outgrown being someone's assistant, Catherine," he said. "It's time you ran your own kitchen." The timing couldn't be more perfect. The aftermath of the family meeting has been chaotic. Mom has called me 6 times today, each time more desperate than the last. The twins are finally starting to realize that their cushy lifestyle might be in jeopardy. Nathan had to cancel his pre-college gaming PC order, and Madison's plan for a new car is suddenly under review. Ashley and I celebrated last night with a bottle of wine on my balcony. She's been monitoring the local Facebook groups. Apparently, my parents' carefully crafted image of financial success is already starting to crack. Their country club friends are whispering, and the rumors are spreading exactly as planned. But the best development? I received an interesting email from the bank holding my parents' second mortgage. They're conducting a routine audit of certain high-risk accounts. Funny how these things happen when the right information reaches the right people. I've moved all my important documents to a secure location, and Ashley has helped me document everything. The next phase of the plan begins tomorrow. I'll be accidentally leaving some revealing bank statements where the twins can find them. The family empire built on my exploitation is starting to crumble, and I'm watching it happen from my peaceful apartment, cooking experimental recipes for my new menu. Mom just texted asking if we can have another family meeting this weekend. I agreed, of course. After all, I need to maintain my image as the dutiful daughter for just a little while longer. I'll update again after the weekend meeting. Phase 2 of the plan is about to begin, and based on today's results, it's going to be even more satisfying than I anticipated. The best revenge isn't just about watching them fall, it's about rising higher than they ever thought possible while they do. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and everything is unraveling faster than I expected. The devastation is beautiful to watch. Remember that second family meeting I mentioned? It never happened. Instead, I've watched my parents' carefully constructed world implode from a safe distance. Let me tell you what's been happening. First, the bank audit hit harder than expected. The auditors found discrepancies in my parents' loan applications. Specifically, they had been reporting my income as a guaranteed family contribution, without my knowledge or consent. They had actually forged my signature on several documents. When the bank's fraud department reached out to verify these agreements, I played completely innocent. I never signed anything, I told them truthfully. I had no idea they were using my name this way. The country club drama has been particularly satisfying. Last Thursday, my parents' membership was temporarily suspended pending financial review. Mom's bridge club friends watched as she was escorted out by security after trying to get in anyway. Madison later told me that Mom came home crying about her reputation being ruined. Speaking of Madison, the twins' attitudes have undergone a fascinating transformation. Nathan had to cancel his Twitch streaming setup plans when our parents' credit cards started getting declined. He actually asked me about job openings at the Golden Plate. "I've never worked before," he admitted, looking genuinely lost. "I don't know how to do anything." Madison's reality check came when she discovered she might have to attend community college instead of her dream university. She found me at work yesterday, mascara running down her face. "How did you do it?" she asked. "How did you work and study at the same time?" It was the first time she'd ever acknowledged my struggles. The family home's facade is literally crumbling now. The landscaping service canceled for non-payment, the cleaning service quit, and there's a notice from the Homeowners Association about property maintenance violations. Mom keeps calling neighbors to borrow money, but word has spread about their financial situation. But here's where it gets really interesting. Dad's business partners are starting to distance themselves. Apparently, some anonymous source, wink, tipped them off about his creative accounting practices. 3 major clients have already pulled their accounts, citing concerns about financial management. Meanwhile, my career is soaring. The new restaurant location is perfect, a renovated historic building downtown. Marco has given me complete creative control over the menu and kitchen design. We're doing tastings next week for potential investors, and I've developed a signature dish that combines classic techniques with modern presentation. The local food critic who tried it called it revolutionary. Ashley has been incredible through all of this. She helped me document a meeting with my parents' financial advisor, who was horrified to discover the extent of their deception. He's now cooperating with the bank's investigation, providing years of records that show their systematic fraud. The community fallout has been spectacular. Remember that local newspaper article? It sparked a whole investigation series about financial fraud in suburban families. They haven't named my parents specifically, but everyone knows. The whispers at church, the sudden cancellations of dinner party invitations, the way people cross the street to avoid talking to them, it's all adding up. Nathan tried streaming from the public library after their home internet was downgraded, but his viewers noticed the change in setup. When he had to explain why, his subscription numbers plummeted. His gaming career dreams are crashing down around him. Yesterday, I saw him looking at job listings on his phone during dinner break at the restaurant. Madison's designer wardrobe is now on consignment at the local boutique. She needed money for her college application fees since our parents' checks kept bouncing. The girl who used to mock my thrift store clothes is now learning about budget shopping the hard way. The head chef position at the new location comes with an apartment above the restaurant. It's being renovated now, exposed brick walls, modern appliances, and a test kitchen for menu development. Marco showed me the plans yesterday. "You've earned this, Catherine," he said. This is what happens when talent meets hard work. But the sweetest moment came yesterday. The bank called my parents in for an emergency meeting about their accounts. They tried to blame everything on me, claiming I had agreed to support the family financially. The bank officer just silently slid across the table a document with my forged signature, and next to it, a notarized statement from me confirming it was forged. Dad apparently turned white as a sheet. Their attempts to maintain appearances are becoming desperate. Mom tried to organize a graduation party for the twins, but the event planner required a 50% deposit up front after hearing rumors about their financial situation. The party was downgraded to a backyard barbecue, then canceled entirely when they couldn't even afford that. The karma is particularly satisfying when it comes to past events. Remember all those elaborate parties they threw for the twins while I worked? The caterer they always used just posted on the community Facebook page asking if anyone else had uncashed checks from my parents. Apparently, they've owed her money for years. Last night, I hosted a small dinner party in my apartment. I served a test run of my new menu to Ashley and some friends from the industry. As we enjoyed the food and wine, I could hear my phone buzzing with desperate messages from my family. I didn't check them until this morning. "Mom, the bank is threatening foreclosure. Can you help?" "Dad, we need to discuss your responsibility to this family." "Madison, why won't you answer Mom's calls?" "Nathan, this isn't fair. You have to help us." I haven't responded to any of them. Instead, I spent the morning finalizing the paperwork for my new position. The salary is more than my parents ever made combined, and that's before considering the profit-sharing agreement Marco included. The best part? A popular food blog is doing a feature on up-and-coming chefs in the area. They're interviewing me next week about my journey from dishwasher to head chef. When my parents see that article, they'll finally understand what they tried to suppress all these years. Ashley suggested I should feel guilty about all this, but I don't. They had years to treat me like family instead of an ATM. They had countless opportunities to acknowledge my worth beyond what I could provide for them. Now they're learning the hard way that actions have consequences. The new restaurant opens in 3 months. By then, if my calculations are correct, my parents will have lost everything: their house, their status, their carefully maintained facade of success. The twins will have to learn self-reliance the way I did, just a decade later than they should have. I'm heading to work now to continue menu development. There's a certain poetic justice in creating my future while their past catches up with them. I'll update again when the bank finishes their fraud investigation. Based on what my contact there hints, it's going to be spectacular. Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I can finally say that everything has fallen perfectly into place. I'm writing this from my new apartment above my restaurant, Vindication, which opened last week to rave reviews. The opening night was nothing short of magical. The local food critics review came out this morning, 5 stars and a spotlight feature. They called my signature dish a revelation in modern cuisine and praised the bold vision of a rising culinary star. Marco was right, my talent, finally unchained, has taken flight. The restaurant was booked solid for our first 2 weeks before we even opened. The renovation of the historic building turned out beautifully, exposed brick walls, open kitchen concept, and my personal test kitchen upstairs where I develop new recipes. Every detail reflects my vision, from the menu design to the plating presentations. Remember Ashley? She's now my restaurant's operations manager. Turns out all those years of helping me plan my revenge gave her excellent strategic planning skills. We make an incredible team, her business acumen and my culinary expertise have created something truly special. As for my family, well, their story has reached its inevitable conclusion. The bank's fraud investigation finished last month. They found evidence of financial manipulation going back over a decade. My parents are facing serious consequences for forging my signature on those loan documents. Their reputation in the community is completely destroyed. The house was foreclosed on, and they've had to move into a small apartment. The kind of place they used to look down on, ironically, it's smaller than my new place above the restaurant. The country club membership? Long gone. Their social circle? Evaporated. All those of friends who enjoyed their lavish parties want nothing to do with them now. The twins have had the wake-up call they desperately needed. Nathan actually started working as a dishwasher at a local diner, the same position I started in. He called me last week, sounding humbled, asking for advice about kitchen work. I gave him the same advice Marco once gave me: success in a kitchen comes from hard work, not entitlement. Madison is taking classes at the community college while working part-time at a retail store. She came to eat at my restaurant opening night, saved up her own money for it. The look on her face when she tasted my food. I think she finally understood what real talent and dedication can create. The local magazine that interviewed me published their feature yesterday, From Exploited Daughter to Culinary Star, a Story of Triumph. My parents saw it. Mom tried to call, probably to attempt some form of manipulation, but I've blocked their numbers. My story is my own now, and they have no part in it. Marco attended our opening night as a guest of honor. He raised a toast to me in front of everyone, to Catherine, who proved that talent combined with resilience can create miracles. I didn't cry, but it was close. He's more of a father figure to me than my actual father ever was. The best part? I'm finally cooking without constraints. My menu changes weekly based on my inspiration and local ingredients. Last week, I created a dish that brought a food photographer to tears. He said he'd never seen anything like it. My creativity, no longer suppressed by family obligations, has exploded. My new apartment is everything I dreamed of. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a professional-grade kitchen, and a rooftop herb garden. Every morning, I wake up to the sunrise over the city, knowing that everything I see is mine. Earned, not taken. Created, not stolen. The restaurant industry is noticing. I've had offers for TV appearances, cookbook deals, and collaborations. But for now, I'm focusing on my restaurant and my creativity. Success tastes sweetest when savored slowly. Yesterday, I received a letter from a young culinary student who read my story. She's in a similar situation with her family. I'm meeting her for coffee next week. Sometimes, the best revenge is showing others that escape is possible. Looking back, I realize that my parents and siblings did teach me something valuable: what not to be. Their exploitation pushed me to be stronger, more determined, and ultimately, more successful than they could have imagined. So here I am, owner and head chef of a successful restaurant, featured in magazines, respected in my industry, and finally, completely free. The scared, exploited daughter they tried to keep down has become someone they can only dream of being. To everyone who followed my story and supported me, thank you. To those still trapped in similar situations, there's hope. Success is the best revenge, and happiness is the greatest victory. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a new menu to create. My test kitchen awaits, and my future has never looked brighter. Life has taught me that sometimes the greatest achievements come from our deepest struggles. Standing in my kitchen now, I know that every hardship led me to this moment of triumph. The aroma of my latest creation fills the air, and I can't help but smile. This is what true freedom tastes like.